have completed an OEC course, you will actually know much more than what is contained in the following list of some of the knowledge and skills goals an OEC technician should master. Assess the safety and maintain it at a rescue scene. Use proper techniques to prevent unprotected contact with bodily fluids. Standard precautions. Assess a patient's level of responsiveness. Establish and maintain an airway. Assess respiration and provide adequate ventilation. Provide oxygen when necessary. Assess perfusion of blood to body tissues. Control bleeding. Identify and address life-threatening problems, including shock. Obtain a medical history of the patient. Assess and provide special care for various injuries. Assess and provide care for medical illness. Understand the nuances in the assessment and treatment of individuals in special populations. Be able to splint or immobilize various body parts, including the spine. Learn the concept of triage and be able to help in a mass casualty situation. Be able to use rescue equipment and to pack your rescue pack appropriately. Understand your role as a team player in pre-hospital care. Be able to communicate with patients, peers, and other medical providers in pre-hospital settings. Be able to document care rendered in a form that all medical personnel can understand. Understand your ski area's management needs and interface with management. Be able to identify the names of the more common medications and to describe their basic functions. Certification and recertification requirements. The OEC program is pre-hospital emergency care course that has been developed and continuously improved by the National Ski Patrol. In conjunction with the OEC Program Director, Table 1-2, the National OEC Program Committee, and the National Education Committee, with input and advice from the National Medical Committee. 1. You may complete the course without having the ability to ski or snowboard. To become an on-the-hill OEC technician, you will be required to demonstrate a level of skiing and tobogganing handling proficiency to care for and to transport an injured skier. You also will need to be able to perform other duties as required by this area where you patrol. To receive an OEC certificate of completion, OEC candidates must successfully complete the OEC course. As part of this process, OEC technicians must successfully complete a written examination developed under the direction of the OEC Program Director and distributed by the NSP's national office. In addition, prospective OEC technicians must successfully complete a practical examination, which is also developed under the direction of the OEC Program Director and provided by the NSP National Office. That may be conducted outdoors using scenarios that include simulated patients. The test is conducted by trained OEC instructors who function under the supervision and direction of a certified OEC instructor trainer, Figure 1-9. Under current NSP guidelines, OEC certification is valid for 3 years under Figure 1-10. To maintain your OEC certification, you must complete an annual OEC refresher course, which may be provided by any currently certified OEC instructor. Each year, NSP develops a continuing education program that enables OEC technicians to refresh their knowledge and skills. 1/3 of the total OEC curriculum is reviewed each year. Refreshers are primarily a hands-on learning experience, enabling OEC technicians to demonstrate proficiency in the skills needed to care for a patient. Upon the completion of 3 consecutive refresher years, cycle A, B, and C, the OEC technician will be issued a new OEC card. The refresher is developed annually by the NSP National OEC Refresher Committee under the direction of the National OEC Program Director, and the curriculum is provided to NSP instructors. According to NSP policies and procedures, all NSP OEC technicians must successfully complete the OEC course and annual refresher to be eligible to patrol. Additionally, the NSP has developed other programs that enable OEC technicians to continue to develop leadership skills in an OEC arena, annually or as required by the CPR certifying agency. Each active member of the NSP must successfully complete a course given by one of the NSP recognized organization that teaches professional level CPR and to the use of an automated external defibrillator, AED. OEC technicians must also annually demonstrate the skill portion of the CPR curriculum to a recognized CPR instructor, regardless of how long the CPR certificate is good for. Anyone may take an OEC course. However, because of the specific requirements for providing hands-on care, it may be difficult for an individual to complete the course successfully. Because of the Americans with Disability Act, ADA of 1990, state and government programs and services must provide to all people. The NSP is not a state or government agency and is not regulated by laws regarding public accommodation. However, the NSP encourages its patrollers to attempt to provide reasonable accommodations to students with disabilities based on time, financial considerations. If an OEC instructor judges the student cannot complete the course with reasonable accommodations or could harm themselves or others while patrolling, that instructor has sole discretion to limit those students to all or part of the course. These limitations may be necessary if others in the class are hindered in learning in a timely fashion. Working in outdoor environments. As an OEC technician, you will have to master many roles. Your responsibility will include that of scene manager, caregiver, patient advocate, and the role model for the management who has trusted you to care for recreational enthusiasts. Your training will give you the tools to assess and help many people in outdoor environments. Each time you respond to an incident, others will be assessing you, your appearance, presentation, demeanor, interaction with the members of the public. Their assessment will reflect on you and your local ski area or responder agency and on the National Ski Patrol. Figure 111. As an OEC technician, you will provide guidance to others in non-medical ways as well. The family of a patient, a scared child with a painful broken leg, or an autistic teen who is separated from his caregiver will all look to you for guidance. Someone may ask you a simple question about where the restroom is located. Act professionally in a kind and helpful way at all times. Figure 112. There will be times when OEC technicians will be stressed, both physically and mentally. You must cope with the stress during and after providing care to severely ill or injured patients. The well-being of each OEC technician is responsible for everyone in your patrol or rescue agency. Working as a team, your group will provide help to each member during stressful situations. Figure 113. When a rescue has been unsuccessful, as some will be, even though everything possible was done to help the patient, you may be needed to assist a peer cope with the aftermath. At other times, you will need others to help you cope with an unfortunate situation. Once you are a member of an emergency service team, you will have the unique opportunity to be the first person to help someone who could die. Were it not for your initial care, other members of the EMS community, such as the ambulance crews, will interact with you. Figure 114. You'll be working with and delivering patients to EMTs, paramedics, nurses, and physicians who will take over the patient's care following your initial evaluation, stabilization, and transport. You will need to learn how to communicate with other members of the pre-hospital team to speed the patient's entry into the next phase of care. The more knowledge you have of the whole emergency care picture, the better you will be able to provide your part of the patient's care. This book includes information about the whole picture, not only to enable you to provide a higher level of medical care, but also so you may understand the complete package of pre-hospital care. After you give a higher level medical person a concise report about the critical patient during handoff, explanation, what the patient's problem is, what you have done as an OEC technician, and what your concerns are, and then seeing the patient seamlessly off to the hospital for definitive care, you will realize that all the effort and OEC training was worth it. Ethical and legal issues. Just as you must learn to manage accident scene or the medical aspects of patient care, you must also learn to manage the legal aspects of rendering emergency care, understanding how to reduce legal risk arising out of an accident situation. It is an important part of patrolling. The pertinent legal principles, when properly applied, will help you function as an OEC technician as you render care to patients and will be reduce the legal risk inherent in any activity. Throughout the history of NSP, since Minnie Dole started ski patrolling over 70 years ago, ski patrollers have developed a good image with the skiing public. Minnie was the ultimate role model in his approach to patrolling. This good image, which patrollers have earned over NSP's long history, is a significant protection for the patroller. Being considered the Good Samaritans of the slope has historically meant that patrollers are rarely sued. Therefore, maintaining the good image and friendly attitude towards the skiing and snowboard public remains an important goal in your education as an OEC technician, figure 115. Ethical issues facing OEC technicians. As an OEC technician, you should hold yourself to a high ethical standard. Historically, NSP patrollers and OEC technicians has always maintained a high standard of ethical conduct with the public and with fellow OEC technicians. Maintaining high ethics and the public's respect for OEC technicians is one of the duties and privileges of the job. The ethical principles used in resolving dilemmas in our daily lives also apply with helping a stranger who is a patient. Those principles are applied to all interpersonal relationships. OEC technicians should follow the following 5 ethical principles. Bach-Chomps and Childress, 1979 and 94. Respect autonomy, independence. An individual has the right to act as a free agent. All are free to decide how they live their lives as long as their decision to do not harm the lives of others. Everyone has the right to exercise freedom of thought or choice. Under certain circumstances, people have the right to refuse care. Do no harm. Non-maleficence. OEC technicians should not engage in any activities with the public that harm others. Any intervention provided should not cause further harm to the patient. Benefit others. Beneficence. Our actions should actively promote the health and well-being of others. This principle is expressed in NSP's federal charter. Ski OEC technicians have a responsibility to promote skier safety. Be just. Justice. Being just and fair balance the rights of one individual against those of others. The principle assumes 3 standards: impartiality, equality, and reciprocity. These standards are based on the Golden Rule, which states, treat others as you wish to be treated. Be faithful. Fidelity. The principle involves loyalty, truthfulness, promise-keeping, and respect of others. Good Samaritan laws and duty to act. As previously discussed, the public has long viewed OEC technicians as good Samaritans, people who help others but expect nothing in return, figure 116. But what protects such good Samaritans from legal harm when they help someone who could suffer irreversible physical harm or death, but a bad outcome ensues? Over time, a group of laws known as Good Samaritan laws have been enacted throughout the United States. These laws may protect voluntary OEC technicians in providing first aid care. In general, they state any volunteer rescuer is not civilly liable for any act or omission in giving any assistance or medical care. If the act or omission is not one of gross negligence, the assistance or medical care is provided without fee or other compensation. And 3, the assistance or medical care is provided at the scene of an emergency, in transit to a medical facility, or throughout communications with personnel providing emergency assistance. Good Samaritan laws protect volunteer rescuers from negligent actions, but not from acts of gross negligence. Gross negligence has been defined as an intentional failure to perform manifest duty in reckless disregard or other consequences as affected the life or property of another, and it also implies a thoughtless disregard of consequences without the exertion of any effort to avoid them. Gross negligence can also be considered a wanton or reckless disregard of the injured person by the rescuer. Consider the example: the Colorado Good Samaritan Law, 1321-108. Persons rendering emergency assistance exempt from liability. 1. Any person licensed as a physician and surgeon under the laws of the state of Colorado, or any other person who in good faith renders emergency care or emergency assistance to a person not presently his patient, without compensation at the place of an emergency or accident, including a health care institution as defined in section 13 64-202. 3. Shall not be liable for any civil damages or acts or omissions made in good faith as a result of the rendering of such emergency care or emergency assistance during the emergency, unless the acts or omissions were grossly negligent or willfully unwanton. This section shall not apply to any persons who renders such emergency care or emergency assistance to a patient he is otherwise obligated to cover. 2. Any person while acting as a volunteer member of a rescue unit as defined in section 25-3.5-103 2 CRS, notwithstanding the fact that such organization may recover actual costs incurred in the rendering of emergency care or assistance without compensation at the place of an emergency or accident, shall not be liable for any civil damages for acts or omissions in good faith. 3. Any persons, including a licensed physician, surgeon, or other medical personnel while acting as a volunteer member of the ski patrol or ski area rescue unit, notwithstanding the fact that such person may receive free skiing privileges or other benefits as a result of his volunteer status, who in good faith renders emergency care or assistance without other compensation at the place of an emergency or accident, shall not be liable for any civil damages for acts or omissions in good faith. Clearly, Paragraph 3 of Colorado's law is intended to apply to ski patrollers specifically. Many other states have similar laws specifically worded to protect volunteer ski patrollers. However, OEC technicians should be familiar with the laws of their own state because Good Samaritan laws vary from state to state. Good Samaritan laws are designed to encourage volunteers to provide first aid care without the worry of being sued for negligence. These laws reflect the good work that voluntary rescuers provide the public. However, it is important that OEC technicians make sure the ski area or resort where they work has adequate insurance protection and that they have adequate personnel insurance. A second important concept regarding an OEC technician's legal obligation to provide care involves the duty to rescue or duty to act. In general, the average citizen has no legal duty to rescue another individual who needs medical care. However, once OEC technicians or other rescuers have put on a uniform, whether they are on duty or off duty, the public has a reasonable expectation that when injured, a rescuer will come to them and provide care. The doctrine of public reliance is created when a rescuer may have a legal obligation to render first aid care to an injured person in need of such care. The primary exception to this rule is when performing such care may place the safety of a rescuer or others at risk. Doctrine of public reliance. When the general public has been given a reasonable expectation that an OEC technician has the ability and duty to provide first aid services. The legal issue is whether an OEC technician is required to provide first aid care when not on duty, is primarily governed by individual state or provincial laws. Most states and provinces do not require OEC technicians to provide such first aid care. However, some states and provinces require individuals who are licensed by the state or province to render emergency care at any time the person is present at an accident scene. Reviewing and understanding the relevant laws and codes concerning this point is important for OEC technicians' own legal protections. Anything that gives members of the public a reasonable expectation that an OEC technician has the ability to provide first aid services, for example, the wearing of a patrol jacket or other OEC insignia while off duty, may trigger the doctrine of public reliance. Therefore, even off duty, be identifiable OEC technicians are representing to the general public that they have the ability to provide first aid care, and thus, those OEC technicians should provide first aid care as is required. OEC technicians have both a moral duty and a legal duty to act. If you find someone who is injured or sick while you are off duty, but are the only one around, you may have a moral duty to act, and you should be helped by the Good Samaritan laws. However, if you are on duty and you may have a legal duty to act, you should follow the guidance established by your management and state emergency medical systems.